So hi everyone, thanks for joining us today on this exciting webinar. Today we'll discuss our improved Stripe integration that now supports ACH. There will be a few Chargify technical experts on the line, so please wait until the end of the demonstration and they will be more than happy to answer any and all questions and concerns relating our new feature. So credit card processing and transaction fees, they can add up really quickly, especially for businesses with really high ARPA, which is the average revenue per account. This is why we're excited to announce our support for ACH through Stripe. Stripe users can now not only process credit and debit cards, but also ACH transactions automatically as well. So why ACH? What is the benefit behind using ACH? Businesses with the much higher average revenue per account are typically hit with higher fees. So let's look at an example where a user is being charged $1,000 a month. The industry standard credit card processing fee is approximately 2.9% plus 30 cents in transaction fees. Whereas with ACH, it's different across every payment gateway, but Stripe offers it at 0.8% and they cap it at $5. So what that means is you can only ever pay up to $5 maximum for the processing. So traditionally, if we were to have a client come in on $1,000 a month, that $1,000 charge and that processing fee would equate to $348.30. Whereas if we were to process that same $1,000 charge, that would cost us $5 through Stripe. To put that in perspective, if you have 100 customers and they're paying you $1,000 a month, the savings that actually equates up to is approximately $34,000. So that's quite a bit when we're talking about transaction fees. $34,000 is practically a whole nother employee, so it can make quite a difference. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit at this time, and let's just go inside the app really quickly. This will give you an understanding of how easy it is to enable the Stripe ACH. So right now I'm in my account. As you can see, I'm connected to the Stripe gateway located underneath your settings. And then we'll just quickly visit the ACH e-check section. And all I have to do to enable it is just allow my customers to pay with a bank account, save my ACH settings. Now, once I do this, the other thing that will automatically be updated is the email settings. So there is a verification email that's sent out to your customers when you add a bank account, and that's automatically enabled by default. So if you want to have your own messaging, if you want to do that externally from Chargify, that's fine, but we do highly recommend that you take a look inside that email setting just to make sure that all that verbiage lines up correctly, because it's very important. That's your paper trail. That's in any case that you have a chargeback comes back to you, that's your proof that your customer agreed to be charged directly through their bank account. So pretty easy stuff. So what now? Now that we have a customer that we've added the bank account to, what happens next? So the first thing that happens is there's going to be 2 microtransactions. These are both going to be less than $1 deposited directly into their account. And the customer is going to have to relate those charges directly back to verify that their account has successfully been connected. There's a couple ways that you can verify this. Again, by that email that we just talked about, you can either have that automatically sent out to your customer, or they can enter in that information and they're good to go. You can manually verify it with your customer. Maybe you've got them right there with you on the phone. You can enter that inside the application and confirm that with them. So that's one way to do it. And then the last way to do it is through the API. So if you do have a more custom workflow, maybe you want to have your customers log into your portal in your site. You'll have some type of landing page for them to enter in those verifications. That's something that you could definitely pass to us via the API as well. Let's talk about a few other things that you should know about ACH. So the first thing is that ACH does take more time. It's not the typical credit card transaction where we enter it, it's verified, and it's charged right then and there if that's what we're doing. But it does take up to 1 to 2 business days to verify. And in addition to that, you also have to make sure that uh, you also guarantee some cushion time between your customers signing up for your accounts. So if you have a customer where you're signing up instantly and you're used to having a payment required method on your subscription, then what you can do is you can collect a credit card right up front if that's something that you wanted to do. You can also put them in a trial state, put them on a free plan, delay the start date, but there will need to be a verification time or a grace period that they'll need to verify that account. Once that account's verified, also keep in mind that it takes up to 5 business days to process according to Stripe's documentation. ACH is only available for USD. ACH specifically refers to direct debiting in the United States, so that makes sense. You can only accept it on USD funds. Additionally, the customer and your merchant bank account must both be US based. It is available on the advanced plans and up. If you want one of our essential plans, it's also available. Just know that it's going to be $1 per transaction. There's also a few ways that you can add ACH as well. So if you're creating a new subscription in the UI, you'll have an option to add the customer's bank account right then and there, just as you would a credit card or if you were issuing an invoice. So that workflow has remained the same. You can also manually add it to an existing subscription as well. So if you have a customer that already exists and you have the information right in front of you and you want to add it to a customer, you can go inside the UI, create a new payment profile, and add that to the bank account. And then another way is to request your customer's bank information. So you can actually initiate that your customer sends you that information via the Chargify hosted self-service page. So that's the most secure way to gather that information. Don't forget that when you add the bank account and it's been verified, you need to set it as the preferred active payment method to process the subscription through ACH. So it's not enough just to add the payment method. What you'll have to do is once it's verified, you'll go back in 2 days later, and then you'll set that as the default payment method. Don't forget also to enable your ACH dunning strategy. That's not the same as the automated credit card strategy that you have in place. There's actually a separate, I'll take you in there right now. There's a separate place inside your account that is specifically for retries circling ACH. So you'll want to make sure that once you enable it, that you go in here and everything lines up with what you want to proceed with what happens in case of a failure. And again, with those verification emails that are enabled by default, make sure that you're happy with the messaging. Make sure that you review the email. It is a canned response that we have in there. Again, this is how you essentially cover your own paper trail. If a customer does come back and dispute a charge, this is essentially your way of proving that your customer had verified or consented to be charged via ACH. So that's pretty much it for the Stripe ACH. We do have some other additional resources to help you out. So we have a very detailed blog that goes through more or less the same information that we covered today. I know it was a short one. We will be opening up to questions here shortly, though. And we also have our documentation available, which goes through different ACH processes, whether or not it's authorized.net or Stripe, that'll detail in the help documentation. So if you have any additional questions or follow up, the resources on help.chargify.com is definitely the best place to go. And if all else fails, you can, of course, contact us in support, either through email. If you have our phone support available, you can give us a call as well. Some features that we have coming soon, just talk about those for a minute. I don't have an ETA on any of these things, but you should expect to see these very shortly. The first one is multiple coupons per subscription. So that's a feature that we're going to be released very soon. We have various invoice improvements in the works. So being able to do things like edit an invoice after it's been issued, being able to specify the timing that an invoice is being sent out. And also we're working on the layout improvements for our invoices. So that's all coming very shortly. And then the last thing that I have on my list is an improved Xero integration. So if you are currently using our Xero integration, what I would recommend you do is just check out our QuickBooks documentation. It's very similar to what our QuickBooks Online integration currently does. And we're just kind of filling in those gaps a little bit more to make our customers a little bit happier with the integration. So that one should be a really exciting release. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions right now.
Hey, Kayla. So I just wanted to follow up on one of the first slides you had where you were breaking out the $348.30 in fees versus the $5. Could you clarify that? Because that would be, is that someone paying annually, so that if they're paying $1,000 monthly, that'd be $12,000 annually. Are you saying that if they were to pay that all up front, let's say they pay the $12,000 for their annual subscription, would that be a total in $348 in fees versus like the one-time payment of the $5 in fees?
That's correct. So we're looking at a substantial difference in the amount of money that's taken out from the $1,000. So we're taking out essentially 2.9% of that $1,000 fee on a monthly basis, and if that adds up to the annual, it's quite a bit of change. So as opposed to, and I know that was kind of confusing. So when we talk about the annual saving, that number essentially adds up to, I had it written down here, $34,000 if you have 100 customers paying $1,000 a month. So that's not just a single customer, that's 100 customers paying you $1,000 a month. So that's $12,000 in revenue per each client.
Thanks for clarifying that. We've had a few questions come in about international clients, being able to utilize this feature or to wire money and that sort of thing. For those situations, unfortunately, this isn't going to work because international, different countries use different methods for kind of that direct bank transfers. So I believe in like Europe, it's called direct debit. So at the moment, this is just for U.S. customers, and the site also needs to be based in the U.S. But we're investigating the option for those other methods to be implemented. But right now, it's based solely for U.S. customers.
That's correct. I can elaborate a little bit more on the industry terminology. So when we talk about direct debit, we're talking about hitting directly into a bank account. You are correct, Nick. There are certain divisions inside Europe that specifically relate to it as direct debit. There's also European unions that call it SEPA. Some customers might be familiar with that. When we talk about ACH is specifically referring to taking funds from a U.S. bank account. ACH will always relate to U.S.
Thanks for that. Just a few more for coming in here. I do want to clarify, and this was presented in the slides is that, so this feature is on the advanced plan or higher is free, and then on the essential plan it is $1 per ACH transaction. However, on the current legacy plans, if you're on one of those, this feature will be available for you as long as you're utilizing the Stripe Connect gateway. So there's the Stripe legacy, and you've likely received communication about upgrading to the Stripe Connect feature. If you do that, you will have access to Stripe ACH if you're on one of the older plans.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. All right, and then looks like one of the last questions here is a question about switching between credit cards and ACH themselves. Kayla, do you have an example pulled up for like the option to switch between? Is that done on the self-service page, or is this an option that you need to send a direct verification email through the payment profile section in the subscription?
That's correct. You would need to enable this specific email that I have pulled up right here. So being able to update the payment request, and the bank account verification emails is what follows that. So if you have a customer that's requesting to update their payment method, then you would need to send them this request. At this time, as far as an automated procedure is concerned, where a customer's coming in and wanting to do it on their own, the only way that that's available right now is directly through the API.
All right, a few more coming in here. This is a good question. What's the advantage to the customers paying credit card versus ACH? Me personally, it's just more convenient. Recently there was that Target breach where, I was part of that, and my debit card ended up being canceled. I had to go then re-sign up for, all the recurring subscriptions that I had associated with that debit card. However, if you sign up with something for ACH, that, unless of course your full-on bank account is compromised, you don't have to worry about going in and updating all of those things once your debit or credit card is compromised. I think that's one of the biggest ones, is you essentially don't, it doesn't also deal with expiration dates. You don't have to worry about, the credit card expiring or getting issued a new one. Kayla, do you have any other advantages that you can think of?
Security is definitely the biggest factor. A lot of customers also like containing all of their billing fees into a single portal. So me, as a Wells Fargo customer, I would be able to go inside my account and not only see, all of my bills, all of my utilities on it, but if I was to have any ACH tied to any subscription plans that I have, then that would also show up there. So it's just more convenient for the customer and secure in the long run.
Then are you about to, so we have some questions about essential plan versus, okay, if you want to dive into that.
So some of our customers may not be aware yet, but we have changed our pricing. If you are on our old legacy pricing, meaning you're on a basic or a plus or a pro or anything above that, you will have access to ACH. However, if you fall underneath one of these new plans, the Essential, Advanced, or Enterprise plans that we offer, the Advanced plan is the plan that's going to give you ACH available out of the box at no extra cost. Which is a good idea if you wanted to upgrade to the Advanced from the Essential if you have a lot of ACH customers. But if you have a couple here and there on the Essential, you can still process ACH. It's going to be $1 for each additional ACH transaction. It does not, if you're on this new pricing, it does not incur the 1.2% of revenue. So we won't charge you the percentage of revenue. So it'll just be $1 for the ACH transaction.
Another question about folks paying, your customers paying manually versus, automated payment, the recurring payments that you would do through Chargify. So the basis of this feature set is to just allow people to charge directly to their bank accounts on the recurring payments. But just like credit cards, you can issue one-time payments on those subscriptions once that payment profile is set up. So, while our whole system is built around the recurring aspect, there are ways to allow, through the API, to allow your customers to issue one-time payments. It's just like a call to that subscription saying charge this amount to that bank account. So there are ways around it, but the baseline is that it would be utilized in kind of a recurring method.
This is a good question. How long will it take for the cash to hit our account? It does take a little bit longer. I mentioned that it'll take about 5 business days for the client, your end user, to see that show up on their statement. According to the Stripe documentation, it takes about 7 business days for it to show up on your account as a merchant. If anybody has a question about the new pricing, or if they'd like to inquire about possibly switching over, please send us an email to support@chargify.com. Either myself or somebody else in the customer success department will have that conversation with you. But we would definitely like for you to contact us so that we can initiate that first. Any more questions? Thanks for following up with that information, Nick. All right. Okay, looks like we don't have any more questions. If anybody has any issues with connecting their ACH, please contact us via email, chat. Again, if you have availability to phone support, call us. We'd be more than happy to walk you through that. If you have anything that you would like to see added to the new ACH integration, please feel free to let us know. One of the things that we are considering adding is SEPA support for Stripe. So if that's something that you want, please let us know, and we will definitely be adding it. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you all have a fantastic day.